Hey Dawn, I'm back. I'm Norman Oliver. Welcome to stormino.net. I hope you've been enjoying all of our segments. I think that we have been bringing some incredible interviews to the community, and this will be nothing different. Theo Gregory, who worked in the U.S. Attorney's Office, and this guy actually prosecuted the KKK. Yes, he did. Theo Gregory served on City Council with me. Now Theo Gregory is the president of City Council. Also, what I thought was unique was Theo's time at University of Delaware. So I think his whole perspective is an incredible story, and I hope you enjoy it. And I'm glad that I'm here with Blue Group Entertainment. How you doing, Theo?
I'm doing good, Norman. Thanks.
Hey, Theo, and we can talk about politics or anything, but you know, what I've always found fascinating when you and I talked about is really your legal background, and really when you worked in the U.S. Attorney's Office, and you talked to me about when you were involved with uncovering something that was going on with the Klan. How was that?
Oh, it was fascinating. The Ku Klux Klan they were running guns from New England down through the South. And the ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Administration, they caught them, and they caught them here in Delaware and prosecuted them. And it was fascinating. Of course, the head Klansman had some stuff to say to me under his breath, and what I said to the paper at that time, and they hit the Baltimore paper, I'm a professional, and I don't react to what the negatives that he had to say about me. There were, of course, racial slurs, but it was fine. What was interesting about the prosecution is I could have really prosecuted the case with them as individuals, just individuals. I didn't have to even mention the Klan. And in fact, the federal judge at that time suggested to me that we could really shorten the trial by a week if we just prosecute them as individuals. And I said, no, I can't do that. I can't do it. I have to prosecute the Klan. I have an obligation, even though I make it more difficult for myself, but I have to make sure that the Klan remain relevant because of history.
You know, and the reason why I bring this up a lot when you and I talk, because I'm sure a lot of folks who are watching never knew about that and never know that side of you. And I always try to, I like history.
Right.
So I always like to show that, you know,
Right.
because sometimes people say, oh, these politics. I mean, University of Delaware, you were like one of the few guys who were on the football team, right?
When I played at UD, I have a photo back there, and I looked at it in 1971 to 72. When we were national champions, I think there were probably 5 guys in 71 and maybe 8 in 72.
Wow. So I mean, this is what I'm trying to paint this picture about you as a person. I mean, when you first became an attorney in the state, how many black attorneys was there?
I was either the 15th or the 16th African American to become an attorney in the state of Delaware at that time.
Wow.
Right.
So I mean, so you've seen some racial stuff.
I've seen racial stuff. I've seen it. I've experienced it. Absolutely, yes.
And the reason why I bring that up, Theo, and I'm gonna come back to this. Like, Louis Redding? Did you ever do any work with the late Louis Redding?
I met Mr. Redding. I did not do any work with him. I had the opportunity to know him as he was shutting down his office. I had the opportunity to actually eat lunches with him. He was very close with Kester Cross. I met him in that context, and I tell a story. We went to a restaurant downtown, and the only place to eat was in the rear of the restaurant.
Downtown Wilmington?
The only place was to eat in the rear of the restaurant because that was the only table that was open. We got to the rear of the restaurant near the kitchen in the bathroom, and Mr. Redding looked at Kester and said, "Kester, do you think this is by design?" Because he was getting ready to get up and leave. And Kester said, "No, Mr. Redding, there are no more tables open." So in other words, Mr. Redding was feeling those after effects of discrimination and said he's not eating in the back of the restaurant if it's by design. And Kester had to calm him down. I always remember that because even in his in his 70s or 80s at that point in time, he still was not going to eat in the back of the restaurant.
Wow. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, right, because I've never talked to you about this, right, the way I'm going with this. How do you feel now when you look at some of the things dealing with the Klan, University of Delaware, one of the few black lawyers, and you look at our black youth now. I mean, and even what you did with, organizing football and all that, in a crazy kind of way, Theo, it kind of pains me even, and I didn't go through anything racially as you did. How do
Well, let me say this first. I think your viewing audience need to know first, if you don't mind, who Lewis Redding was. He was a prominent civil rights lawyer.
Sure.
And he litigated with Thurgood Marshall and all those folk during that time. So that's the context you have to put Mr. Redding in. But for me, there's a disconnect. I use two Ds: disconnect and disappointing. In our society, we for various policy reasons and things that man has done, man-made policies, there's a disconnect in our society with respect to the development of African American youth into young men and young women. There's this big disconnect, which creates a gap or a void in moving my community forward. And then I'm disappointed because of that disconnect, because we've lost a generation, a good part of a generation. I say that, and at the same time, in my mind, I know that I've been on the youth athletic trail at one time for years. And despite all the turmoil that was going on around us and the disappointment that I experienced with the local urban youth and what was taking place with this disconnect, I would go away and I would see thousands of African American youth participating in track and field, wrestling, basketball tournaments, and they were doing well. So there are those youth that grow and do well and are developing appropriately, but unfortunately there are also a lot of African American youth, because of man-made policies, that are not doing well.
You know what, you would be surprised, that's been a theme of some of the folks we've been interviewing. I mean, guys who you would consider guys, street guys, political guys, business guys. It's been a theme. Well, how do a guy like Theo Gregory go to the University of Delaware, get a degree, go to law school to get a degree, work at your U.S. Attorney's Office, become president of the council? How did you do it?
Well, I think it's motivation and determination and having a goal of always having a voice, and I always say that in my community. But that was very relevant to me. I think that I am a child of the 60s, born in 52, but of course when I was a kid, I saw the Vietnam War play out on TV, I saw the Civil Rights Movement play out on TV. All of my teachers and my parents, it was understood that you have an obligation and a responsibility to give back, to be a part of something. And and when you see people fighting, you want to continue to fight. You want to continue to be a voice. So I think that's me in the way I did it. That's motivation and wanting to move a community forward.
Do you feel that we still have folks got that same fight, what you're talking about?
We have it, but unfortunately, there are a lot of folk also who have been compromised. I think they were compromised in previous times. But we have situations now where folk are compromised, and if you're moving forward and you look like you're aggressive and assertive, there is this movement afoot where people go get another group of people to supplant what you're trying to do and make them the voice. Unfortunately, we're in a community where the news journal and people in power try to decide who our leaders are going to be. It's like I'd rather deal with King than Malcolm.
Right.
But you
That's
you got to deal with both of us. But no. If you're going to come in and you're too aggressive and too assertive, they find a way to minimize your voice.
Do you find yourself getting tired?
Oh, severely tired. But you keep fighting a good fight. I'm gonna be in it to the end. I joke and tell people I'll probably die at a desk somewhere and just flop over. I don't, unless I can't move around, unless I lose my faculties, I'm gonna be on the front line to the end.
I've asked a couple of people this question, Theo, and again, I find it fascinating talking to you, and I'm glad you agreed to this interview. When you look back on some of the things you've accomplished as a politician in the legal field, is there any one case or thing that stands out you're very proud of?
I've done a lot in terms of youth. So let me just talk about the Police Athletic League Youth Activity Center, providing the initial funding for that on 2 different occasions and getting it up and running. Moria Academy, the charter school that I started. One of the things I did a youth league for athletics and particularly football for about 20-something years. I was very proud. I'm very proud of that. And one of the things I like to see happen, I like to see the Diamond State Sports and Learning Center put up in the city of Wilmington, which would be a destination venue for athletics.
Wow. Is there anything that you're very disappointed at if you look at, like, well, I wish I had done it differently?
My biggest disappointment in me as a person, not doing it differently, is dealing in group dynamics. If I can get a straight shot to get something done, I think I can get it done. But when you start, I go back to a previous discussion we just had. When you start dealing in group dynamics around here, in society, I say generally, and in Wilmington, a lot is lost because people tend to deal your issue away for their issue.
You know, folks who are watching the show, because people watch this around the country, I was talking to Mr. Gregory about a school that he developed, created, and everything under a guy's name, Reverend Moyer. Reverend Moyer was a civil rights activist and leader. And I can speak, and he can speak for himself. I watched him build this from the ground up and watched him pretty much take it from him. And I was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was hurt almost more than
Mm-hmm.
you. And even today, because I built a development,
Mm-hmm.
and I know how difficult it is to find funds and make everything come together.
Mm-hmm.
And you did that for 3-4 years, even longer than I. And it's almost what you were talking about, you know, who picks our leaders.
That's right.
I mean, and that to the day,
Mm-hmm.
today, Theo, and I don't know if I ever told you, I don't give a damn, I say it on TV. It still pains me when I see that
Mm-hmm.
because I know that you were doing the right thing.
Yeah, I've had to move on from it. Certainly, I was disappointed in terms of the governor and the secretary of education. I didn't know those people. I knew the governor, but not the secretary of education. She was seen hell bent on closing the school. But what was very disappointing for me and pained me more than anything else is a lot of black folk participated in that. If they had aggressively came to rally for Moyer as they did to help shut Moyer or to give Moyer to a for-profit management company, Moyer would have still been open today and we would have been moving forward. We had 480 kids, we were moving forward. They can barely get 200 kids now. And the parents trusted Moyer, we were like family. Our scores were what they were, but I inherited those kids over a 3-year period, but I believe we were on course to do some things. But again, as I indicated earlier, there were black folk in the community who came in and dealt Moyer away. And they got what they wanted out of the deal. Pretentiously, that they wanted to protect Moyer in the beginning, then they turned on me. I remember being at a meeting with some meeting predominantly pastors when they were going to tell me, well, what we're going to do for you as we change this school, we're going to put your name on a plaque someplace. And I laughed at them. I'm like, a plaque? I don't want a plaque. What you can give me a plaque for? But I had called the ministers in the community to assist me in the process, and they turned on me. And I'm looking at them and saying, I invited you to a fight. Not only you're not fighting with me, you turn and you're fighting with the other guy. You all just need to go home. They looked at me and said, I just want you to just go home. This isn't even your fight. I asked you to come help me based on the numbers. The numbers are the numbers. The numbers didn't change from day one except that the governor put a different slant on it. And now you're participating with the governor to take the school. And I'm telling you, if I delve deeper, at least 3 people in that process got something out of the deal.
Wow. And your school was, what, 95% black?
It was black, urban America, some county. We had some kids who were high performing, but we had 22% special ed.
And I love the way
Special
you
needs.
named it after Moyer, and then you had the Jim Seals and Evan Seals.
Yeah.
I'm glad we talked about this.
Yeah.
Because I want to get your story. I don't know if your story had ever been told.
Oh, it's been told, but it becomes irrelevant. Society, we move on, and what happens to any one of us as an individual becomes a little speck in the universe, and something else comes along. So you keep moving forward.
Where do you see what is your future goals?
Well, I want to stay in politics. I want to stay elected. I'm president of Wilmington City Council. We have 2 years left. Got some things I like to do. I think I've come in and established City Council as a true partnership in governing in the city. And we'll wait and see what happens. There have a lot of folk who are coming at me to do some other kinds of things, and I'm evaluating.
Other kind of things like what?
The people want me to run for mayor. Some people would like for me to go to Dover.
Are you giving this consideration?
Oh, sure, you have to give it consideration, but I haven't made up my mind.
No, heard it first on Storming Out.
No. The only thing I made up my mind about is I want to be elected first, and secondly, I want to be president of City Council.
Elected what?
I said I want to be elected, and I want to be president of City Council.
You would like to be elected mayor?
No, I'd like to be president of City Council.
But you wouldn't like to be elected mayor?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
But I could be elected mayor in 2022.
Yeah.
That's, no, 2020.
But you wouldn't run from it in 2016?
My plans are not to run for it in 2016.
But you wouldn't run from it?
Oh, I wouldn't run from it.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, we're just talking.
No, and I've actually told the current mayor if people start lining up against him, I got to be one of them.
You got to think about it.
Doesn't mean I'm not going to be the first one out, but I have to.
That's that's interesting, man. When you first how old were you? I mean, what year did you first get on council? Not
85.
From 85 to now, what's the biggest difference in politics, in your opinion?
Let me say this first. When I first got elected, in my first term, I was walking down the street, and I said, well, wow, I got these two hats on. What's the difference between a lawyer and a politician? I realized then that a politician will lie to you to your face, see you the next day, and know that they lied, and know that you know they lied, and you just keep moving. But lawyers don't really lie in Delaware anyway, because if you lie, that lie's going to come home to roost before somebody that's going to hold you accountable. That's called the judge. So we play it fairly straight in Delaware, man. We may state stuff in a way that's more beneficial to us than you, which is what we do as lawyers. But very seldom will you find a lawyer that's being tricky in Delaware. But politicians are just tricky. But what's the difference between now and then? I think that a lot of people get in politics now for fame and fortune. And there's no place in politics for fame and fortune. I think a lot of people get involved in politics now. Once they get elected, they're automatically looking for the next position. And I don't think that causes them to be the best elected official serving the people they can in for what they got elected for. You can't make good, sound leadership decisions if you get elected and you're automatically looking to where you want to go. And I don't think there were a lot of us at that time who were looking to go someplace else. We just wanted to serve in the capacity in which we were serving.
And I hope you really, really enjoyed that segment. You have to admit that was really nice. I want to thank City Council President Theo Gregory for doing that interview. Thank you for being so candid, so open. I want to thank the Blue Film Media Group. I said Blue Film. Blue Media is too dark. I couldn't see it. See, man, y'all got me thrown off. Why do I keep saying Blue Film? Why do I keep saying film? It's Blue Media Group, right?
Blue Films Media Group.
Well, I said it right then, though, didn't I?
You said it right.
Well, why you laugh? I said Blue Films. I said Blue Films Media Group. Is that it?
That's it. This is the closing with Theo Gregory. Action.
I hope you enjoyed that segment as much as I did. As you can see, Councilman Theo Gregory has an incredible story. I want to also thank the Blue Film Media Group for their diligent work, and Ivan Thomas, who's a friend, a guy who I've watched grow up in this industry. But Theo, thank you again, and thank everyone for continually supporting StormingNode.net. Also, let me give my sponsors a shout out: Pacini Polling Group, Hotbox Fantasy Sports, and Rep Rosario, and those guys. If you want to sponsor, certainly get in touch with StormingNode.net, and we'll tell you how to sponsor. Thank you very much.
Cut.